Hello, and thank you for watching this short video. My name is Brother Sean, and I'm the founder of the Teo community of St. Francis. We are an online lay monastic community of men and women who were guided by Francis and Clare at his very tomb in Assisi in 2008 to come from our comfort zone and to embrace the whole family of God. Having been a nursing monk in the Catholic Church for a number of years, I always had an understanding that Catholics were the children of God. But then I realized, or rather I began to question, well, what about the Buddhists and the Hindus and the Sikhs, the Muslims, the Baha'i, the Wiccans and the pagans? So in prayer, I was guided by this simple 12th century eco-spiritual warrior, whom you know as Francis of Assisi, to embrace all children of God. And here's where it got really challenging. I was guided to set up an interfaith Franciscan community where men and women of different faiths would come together in love, like Francis, like you, and love the one true God, a God who has many different names. As a Catholic, I struggled. I really did. But a lot of it I realized was a negative theology, because I presumed wrongly that as a Catholic, I more or less had the hundredfold, and that we were on the right track to getting into heaven. And looking back, I realize I was committing the gravest sin of all, the sin of spiritual arrogance. How dare I try to put on the mindset of God and reject others as a nursing monk? But I guess I had a lot of rude awakenings as a nursing monk doing my general training in 1971 in a very busy, large general hospital in Manchester, UK. I met amazing doctors and nurses and patients, and they were my greatest teacher. But the one thing I discovered, I found more Christian tolerance on the ward, forgive me, than in my own community. So why would Francis of Assisi ask someone like me, with no education, having left school at 11 years old, to raise a young family in Dublin, 5 brothers and 3 sisters, whilst our mom was very ill in hospital for a number of years? But you see, our ways are not God's ways. And though I've paid the price for welcoming brothers and sisters of different beliefs to come and celebrate and dance the Canticle of the Creatures, and whose love of Francis is infectious. Over the last few months, I know in prayer I've been guided by Francis and Clare to reach out to you and to all my brothers and sisters in the Franciscan family. And you and I both know that there are thousands of men and women who've consecrated their lives to God as Franciscans, poor Clares, poor Clare Collatines, both within the Christian family. But there are others who are on the periphery. But there are many Franciscan groups that I've discovered who don't communicate with the different Franciscan associations. Why is that? I know as a nursing monk in Ireland and here in the UK, there were other nursing groups within the Catholic Church, the John of Gods, a great order, the Brothers of Charity, and the Alexian Brothers. And you know something that is sad? We weren't encouraged to network or meet with one another. Thankfully today that has changed through the major Conference of Religious Superiors. But do Franciscans of different denominations within the Christian family and outside ever get together for a jamboree to celebrate their Franciscan way? I've never heard of it. Have you? So following on from what my heart was guiding me to do, I took St. Francis at his word and I emailed many Franciscan groups. And to this day, I'm still waiting for a reply. But I'm undeterred because the work we do, is not my work. As you well know, it's God's work. And we know that there will always be trials in doing the work for God. As an online community, we do meet up several times a day through the internet. We have a free TV internet channel. Well, two in fact. One where we have a live webinar every evening, 52 weeks of the year, 365 days of the year, where we've invited guest speakers to talk about their spiritual paths. And twice a day, morning and evening, we have the Office of Lauds and the Office of Vespers, where members of our community lead prayer for unity and peace and for the whole family of God, as well as for all our religious leaders. Many in our community are Christian, but there are members who are not, but who respect us as we respect them. But the one thing we have in common is that we do truly love one another, and we very rarely talk about religion. We embrace a simple life, and part of that life is ministering to the children of God via the internet and our prayer channel. This short video, you could say, is a cry from my heart, a cry to appeal to every Franciscan to come and to support a new initiative that Francis has asked us to get involved with, to dedicate Doves for Peace, our live stream channel, for the whole of 2016, for Franciscan unity, uniting our Franciscan family, all the various groups, denominations, affiliations, associations. This attempt is a call for Franciscan presenters for the 365 days of programming. And all we're asking, let us unite for Francis. Let us put aside our foibles, our disagreements, our lack of understanding, maybe our lack of tolerance. I know some of my Franciscan brothers and sisters in the Catholic Church have taken umbrage with some of the language that I use, like Holy Father, Mother God, or Mother Earth, but Francis used Mother Earth. But their words, what Francis sees is the heart. And today, the challenge is this: He's inviting us back to his heart. Allow me read to you some of his words from Living the Wisdom of St. Francis. Francis repeatedly draws our attention to our hearts. In a variety of ways, he asks us, where is your heart? What is in your heart? We know that his entire journey was a heart response to Christ. But more importantly, his ministry was to bring that very heart of God, the beating heart of Christ, in action through love. So what we're offering to do with Francis' blessing is to try and unite the brothers and sisters within the Franciscan family who call themselves Franciscans to unite. Several years ago, I heard a quote, and it troubled me. And the quote was this. It was from Gandhi. He said, I like your Christ, but not your Christians, because your Christians are not like your Christ. And bearing in mind, there's just under 2,000 divisions of Christians who say they love God, and only about 10% actually communicate with one another. And I find that an awful indictment on us as Christians. In other words, we're not walking the talk, we're talking the walk. And only the other day, whilst out walking in the woods with two of our dogs, I discovered the same words, but not in the name of Christ, in the name of Francis. And it was, I like your Francis, but not your Franciscans, because your Franciscans today are not like St. Francis. Now we can put that right. We can come together as a loving family and unite our heart with the heart of our Holy Father Francis and our Holy Mother Clare. I would really love you to put aside any differences that you may have with embracing interfaith and just focus on the man who introduced our hearts to a meaningful way of living, that of a Franciscan. And using the Doves for Peace channel, we can come and share our story. We can come and say why we are Franciscan, what it is about St. Francis that really lights our fire. In other words, we can walk the talk in Franciscan joy. Please go into your quiet space, and when communing with Francis and Clare, ask them what do they want you to do for them in 2016. And then follow your heart. I know some of you might be apprehensive because of what your superiors or generals might do, in other words, how they may react. But we're not doing it for ego. We're doing it to unite our Franciscan brothers and sisters around the world. In other words, we're demonstrating our love for Francis by emulating his heart response to this present world, where so many are spiritually impoverished, and where so many of different faiths and none have a great love for Francis. I have a lot of friends who are not Christian, and most of them have a statue of St. Francis in their garden where they sit and where they talk to Francis. They have a great love of nature, as I do, as I'm sure you do. For me, the Cathedral of God is not some ornate cathedral made by man, but the landscape where I sit in the presence of God and allow the choristers of God, the animal kingdom, reawaken my heart to do what I do for the family of God. So I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you for watching this video, and I pray that Francis and Claire will touch your heart as they did mine, to invite you to come on board and share your story. Or you may wish to do a pre-recording on YouTube and send it to me, and we can upload it onto the Doves for Peace channel. And I would like to leave you with this beautiful gift that I was given. This is Francis, as you know, and all around him are the Doves for Peace. And the channel is the Doves for Peace. And in the words of Francis, may God reward you for whatever you can do to reawaken the Franciscan family to come together in love. Pax et bonum. Shalom. Peace. And thank you.